Welcome to the Unnecessary Roughness YouTube page. It is late at night, but you need to like, subscribe, share, comment, whatever you need to do. It's a huge episode, big night in college football. I hope you enjoy. Holy shit.
What's up, Smith?
God.
Hey, Smith. How we doing?
Holy shit. The cops are going to come to my apartment because I'm screaming so loud. My neighbor hates me. She called the cops on Billions. The fucking FBI is going to show up. I'm screaming so loud.
I don't know what to, you're just going to have to tell them, listen, college football happened tonight.
What a day. Also, fuck you if you're mad at me for yelling about this. This is what's happening. Happening?
It's one of those rare times where you're so surprised by what just happened with your team. It's nothing but pure raw emotion. In 3 days, you'll think, oh boy, why did we lose to these teams? Doesn't matter right now. Doesn't fucking matter.
Well, I tweeted that about your team and I got a lot of mad Mississippi State fans, but I'll tell you what, I was running around my apartment in my underwear screaming. A&M had no business beating this team on paper before this game. Holy fucking shit.
But wait. You guys fell behind 38-31, and then this quarterback that everybody hated, you hated, with so all of a sudden took out the biggest set of nuts I've ever seen in my life and just put them on the table and said, y'all, watch this shit.
Literally, y'all, why don't we start the podcast and let's talk about this? But let me tell you something,
Jack. You know what's great about this, Kayce?
What?
If that hadn't happened, if A&M hadn't just beaten Alabama, we already had the best day of college football all year.
By far.
Unbelievable. Hey, Jack, I know you're drinking a high noon right now. Brandon, are you drinking iced tea or something?
I'm drinking tea.
Should we all cheers and then start the podcast? Cheers.
Cheers.
Let's start a podcast.
That's a great clip, by the way.
Hi, welcome to Unnecessary Roughness. Parcels and Casey's clapping and dancing and showing off her shirt. It is Unnecessary Roughness. Parcels college football podcast. I've talked too much. Smith, take it over.
It's presented by High Noon. We have to do that. Presented by High Noon Hard Seltzer. Real vodka for real juice for real fucking fans like me, like you, like Jack. Jack is at the office drinking a High Noon right now. Jack, what flavor do you have?
Lime.
The lime. Brandon, you and I were on the road today. We were in Blacksburg. We were there for Virginia Tech Notre Dame. I know we'll get to that game. Everyone in the crowd was drinking High Noons. It's been fucking unbelievable today.
Before we get to everything else, speaking of somebody who's drinking High Noons tonight, our sweet girl, Katie Stat's not with us tonight. She is in Chapel Hill, where she walks across the field tomorrow, gets her diploma. So congratulations to her.
The only winner. The only winner of North Carolina.
I say walk across the field, whatever. You know what I mean.
No. She'll be the only, one of the only winners. That feels kind of cursed after today.
Yeah, it does. Katie's eating styrofoam somewhere in Chapel Hill right now. You know she is.
Poor girl. Did you meet Daddy Pondicio?
I didn't.
I did.
How was he? Great.
Oh, fantastic. Nice man.
Hi, Mr. Katie.
Anyway, we can talk about Mr. Pondicio later. What an absolute balls to the wall Saturday of college football, and it is capped off by, I won't say it was the game of the year, but I'm not even sure it was in the top 2 games of the day. But anyway, one of the most shocking results of the year, A&M, after getting their doors blown off by Arkansas, after getting beat at home by Mississippi State, nobody gives them a chance. I don't give them a chance. 18-point dogs to Alabama, and they come out and beat Alabama 41-38, down 38-31 with 3 minutes left, score a touchdown, get the ball back, kick a field goal. Unbelievable. Where do you start, Smith?
Honestly, I don't know where to start because they threw up a graphic in the fourth quarter that was everything that's on the line. It said, the 20th consecutive win for Alabama, the first time an assistant of Nick Saban's ever wins, and then the third time as an unranked opponent, A&M beats a number 1 team in the country. And I'm like, this is a curse. We know what's going to happen here. And I came into this game, and I will fully say it. I said it in the video that I put on social media. I will eat crow. I was super down on my team just a week ago. I had my hood over my face. We lost to you guys. We lost to Arkansas. Arkansas looks like they're not that good. I don't even understand what happened tonight. I'm just so fucking excited that was the primetime game that everybody got to watch, because all of you on the college football show today, and I just took the over, which thank God I took the over. All of you were like, this is embarrassing. I was like, yeah, I'm a little scared. Dave was like, for fucking what? Like, you guys are gonna get the shit beat out of you. And I'm like accepting that. And then watching this team tonight, the defense, the way that they played, and Bryce Young played a hell of a game, but A&M showed up.
I tell you what I take from it. I think I take from it that Zach Calzada became a big-time college player tonight. He became a legend in College Station tonight just based on this performance. We'll see what happens with his career, if he becomes an every down starter, if he becomes the guy. But tonight, this guy who has been more maligned than anybody in the country, perhaps, this guy who is, the fans didn't want him. They're Haynes King, when's he going to be there? Against Arkansas, couldn't move the ball. Against Mississippi State, couldn't move the ball. And now tonight, against the number one team in the country, Zach Calzada not only is good throughout the night, but when they fall behind 38-31, he puts the team on his fucking back and throws the ball down the field. He has the beautiful touchdown pass. His knee gets rolled up. He goes in the medical tent, gets a little Novocaine love on that knee, comes back and wins the damn game.
It's so, and I mean, and I was one of them, obviously, when Haynes King went down against Colorado. I mean, it took a little bit for Zach Calzada to get going. You saw that Arkansas game. They couldn't move the ball at all. And the offense was putrid. That was what I said. Again, I will eat crow on that. But the evolution of what Zach Calzada has been able to do going into the number one team in the country at Kyle Field at night and making those plays that he needed to against a defense, like that tells me that all this talk about, Jimbo Fisher's not, moving players along. He looks like maybe Kevin Sumlin did, or like Dan said on the show today, he looks like Jim Harbaugh. Like, no, these players are maturing. They're getting better. They're evolving to the point where he was up against Nick Saban's defense and able to finish that game when in reality, once Alabama came back, like I feel like most people were probably like, well, shit, there it goes. Absolutely not. Like the balls on A&M's offense tonight were unbelievable. And Zach Calzada proved himself with Johnny Manziel on the sidelines, by the way.
Yeah, and like it wasn't just him though. It was like A-Chain, it was Spiller. Spiller's fantastic. A-Chain's fantastic. Like when they blocked the punt, that was the first moment I was like, well, here it goes. The cheese is sliding off the cracker. They just scored. It's 24-17 now. Boom, kick return, 96 yards for a touchdown. But then Alabama comes back. It's 31-17. They take a 38-31 lead. The game's over, right? And no, A&M gets off the mat. What I hope this does, I hope it gets rid of the benefit of the doubt we give Alabama. Because Alabama showed 3 weeks ago when they went to the swamp, they're beatable. They're absolutely beatable. They bleed like everybody else. And Florida's not that good. They're okay. They're fine. But they went to the swamp, and Alabama was lucky to get out of there. And the second they left there, we didn't keep saying, well, Alabama's beatable. We gave them back their invincibility and said they're invincible. They're this, they're. Listen, this ain't going to be their only loss. It's not. The West is going to be like this every single week. Every single team in the West can beat every single other team in the West. I know Alabama's still the best team, but this is wild. Uh-oh. Jack's watching the fight. What happened?
Yeah, what happened, Jack?
Deontay Wilder got knocked down, and then next round, Tyson Fury got knocked down by Deontay Wilder. Fury's back on his feet, but this is crazy.
By the way, I took Deontay Wilder just because I was watching Billions today, and it was the Deontay Wilder episode, and I feel like I had to take him because of that. Beside the point.
I go the opposite way. I didn't bet it, but if I were going to bet somebody, I mean, he's from Tuscaloosa. Tonight's not the night to bet the Tuscaloosa guy.
That's fair.
Uh-oh.
Jack's freaking out.
Fury's back on the ground.
Uh-oh.
Okay, so Brandon, what I am going to say to your point about Alabama being beatable, which we have said is the case because, we saw the Florida game. Obviously, Miami is absolutely trash, so like that game doesn't even matter at this point. I will be completely honest. I just didn't think it was going to be A&M that was going to do it. I did not think that A&M on October 10th or 9th or whatever day it is would be the team to knock them off just because of what we've seen for the last couple of weeks.
Well, nobody did, but here's the truth, and here's the fun part of what we're about to talk about for the rest of the show. Today is the day Chaos returned to college football.
Woo, buddy.
Today is the day that Chaos said, 2021, I'm here. Because we put two teams above the rest, Georgia and Alabama, right? And Alabama just fell. They just fell. Georgia will put them aside. But chaos is not just Alabama falling. It's Alabama losing to a team that looked dead. It's Alabama losing to a team with a quarterback who looked like he did not belong in college football. It's Alabama losing to a team where they went up 7 points with 3 minutes to go, and they always win that game. Chaos is here. Now, you get the big win. You should be happy. Everything's great. You're living life. All college football fans know the feeling. The feeling you have right now is the feeling we all chase, right? It's the joy that we all chase.
Yes, but can I say something before we say but?
Yeah, go ahead.
It's amazing. And do not get me wrong. It is. I mean, I'm going to be riding this high for a long time. What sucks so much about this is that now you look back at the last couple of losses and you think if A&M was healthy, if
not yet. Don't do that.
I know. I'm not trying to.
Tonight's the night to enjoy it.
They're not going to. They've already have 2 losses. They're not going to be the SEC West representative for the SEC championship game.
That's fine.
I'm really fucking happy.
If you come out tonight with 3 losses,
done.
There's no hope. But now, all of a sudden, you might have a quarterback. All of a sudden, these running backs, like that defense is only getting nastier. Everything you do is a good step for the future. But
Agreed.
we can't solely talk about A&M and Alabama. While it is the biggest story today, it ain't the only story. It wasn't the only field storming. It's not the only evidence of chaos. There was a ton of incredible finishes, incredible football. This was college football flexing and saying, there is no sport like me in this world. And every time you think there is, I will throw a day like this at you. I'll throw 52-51 down in Oxford at you. I'll throw Iowa beating Penn State at home in a war at you. I'll throw all these things at you. So let's just go down the list. Let's go down and talk about, because we are an A&M Mississippi State podcast. We're not an A&M Mississippi State podcast, but because you're an A&M fan, we naturally started here, and this was the number 1 team getting beat. So it's the biggest story.
It also just happened.
It just happened as the number 1 story because the number 1 team got beat. But if that didn't happen tonight, we could do 3 to 4 hours on OU Texas alone.
I mean, and by the way, can we just go ahead and say this? We're calling it the shootout, right?
The Red River Shootout? Yeah, that's fine. Well, today that's absolutely what it was. It was just a shootout. It
was very clearly a shootout. And I looked at the clip from the college football show last year, and you guys were making great points. It's like, well, it's a shootout at the end of hockey games, or it's a shootout when it's a close game in the NFL. It's the Red River Shootout. I'm sick of these people being like, it's not PC. What we saw today between Texas and OU was a shootout, and it was glorious. It was like 5 hours long, and it was points bonanza.
It was unbelievable. And there were moments, and it feels like we found out like 7 or 8 weeks worth of stuff in that 4-hour window. We found out that Spencer Rattler isn't the guy at Oklahoma.
Boy.
He's just not. He's not. That dream is probably over. Caleb Williams comes off the bench. I don't know how far they got down the most. I think they were down 28-7 at one time. I don't know what they were down when he came in, but he comes off the bench, 2 touchdowns, I think 250 yards, and basically takes the Oklahoma job. Jack, you'd agree with that? Caleb Williams took the Oklahoma job today?
Without a doubt. I mean, there's a clip on our Twitter of Rattler walking off the field after the game, and now he's by himself. Now, who knows? But everyone, it seems, in the background celebrating. It's not the best looks visually. I get it. It feels like your whole world just crumbled, but I think he's not the guy there anymore, and he's probably already thinking, all right, what's my next step? Because Caleb Williams came in. I mean, his first play that he came in was that, what was it, like a 70, 80-yard run where it felt like it was the first turn Texas was about to start dominating, and then Oklahoma's like, wait, we're coming back in. That game feels like it happened a decade ago, by the way.
That game feels like it happened 3 weeks ago for sure. That game does not feel like it happened today.
It doesn't at all, but also like it started off the day exactly how we wanted it to. Like, and I know it lasted forever, so it wasn't the first game. I mean, and we got to talk about the Ole Miss game for sure that ended first. But the way that game started, even just from the first touchdown, Texas immediately comes out with like 20 seconds off the clock. They score, then they block a punt. All of these things. Chaos started at 12 o'clock this afternoon, and it is now 12:18 a.m. and we're still talking about chaos. All day it was chaos.
You're right. Xavier Worthy, that very first play, Texas gets the ball. They throw a 75-yard touchdown pass.
What are you showing me, Jack?
That's Zach Calzada in a corpse hat.
A core.
Hat.
Military.
Corpse, sorry, my bad.
Military.
Not a corpse hat.
Fake
He's not dead.
ROTC. Fake ROTC.
What the fuck? Hey, Jack, do me a favor. Don't you talk shit about A&M tonight. Can I have one night, please?
I got to
Listen,
say,
guys.
before we stop on A&M, I think the true MVPs of the A&M win tonight are the milkmen that were the yell leaders, because we made fun of them all week. I don't think they win if they don't go viral for being just the cringiest individuals of all time.
I'm not doing this. Go ahead, Brandon. Can we? We are not talking shit about A&M tonight. And if we are, it's gonna be for me. It's like when people talk shit about my sister. No, I can do it. No one else can. No one's talking shit about A&M tonight.
Okay.
Guys, give me.
Brandon, are you about to throw up or something?
No, I was going to do the patent quote.
Don't you fucking dare. No one is allowed to talk shit about my team tonight. And
Wait.
by the way, Brandon,
Hold on, I got one.
No. I would like to point this out for you because you have been staunchly on Georgia being the best team in the country. You should be on my side right now.
Listen, I'm not one to toot my own horn.
Toot.
But I kind of pointed out the vulnerability of Alabama way before anybody else in this world.
Toot. Listen.
Toot.
You should. So no one should be able to talk shit about my team right now. And let's go back to the Red River Shootout. And it is a shootout. And we're going to say shootout. And fuck everybody who says we can't say shootout. Because Oklahoma did win. But what we're seeing now, Georgia is the only team that seems to be unbeatable.
Well, everybody's unbeatable until they're beatable. So let's put Georgia to the side. And listen, if you're listening to this and you're a Michigan fan, are they going to get to my team? Yes, we're going to get to Michigan. We're going to get to Ole Miss, Arkansas. Iowa deserves their own spotlight here. Michigan, Nebraska, Notre Dame, Virginia Tech, on and on. Ed Orgeron being done. Kentucky being 6-0. Wake Forest being 6-0. BYU blowing it. There's so much to talk about. And we're going to get to all of it. By the way, Ohio State kind of back. So a lot to talk about, a lot to go over. Settle in. We're going to be here for a while.
Settle in. And also, well, Jack's at the office, so he's not. It is very funny that we're both in our underwear at home separately, by the way.
I'm in my Virginia Tech shirt that I wore to the show today and my drawers.
I'm in my unnecessary sweatshirt, which, by the way, a lot of compliments. It just says unnecessary. I did take my bra off, and I'm in also my drawers. I don't like the word drawers.
All right, if this live video on YouTube gets to 500 likes by 12:30, Kayce will show her underwear.
But Brandon, today in college football did not stink at all.
Didn't stink.
Amazing. You know what stinks?
Debt.
Student loans.
Yes.
Student loans are the worst. We don't like them at all. But also, who doesn't stink? Our friends at Earnest.
They help with student loans.
They do. They have radically flexible payments. You can pick your loan term, which is great. And all you have to do is just go online and you can talk to a real live human. We like to do that. We don't like to go in person. We don't want to have to do that anymore. It's 2021. You want to do it online.
Yes. Whenever I have student loan debt, I want to talk to a real life human. I'm pretty put out with talking to real life humans right now. I look at you and I'm like, oh my God, I got to keep talking. But we're talking about Earnest.
You hate talking to me, but guess what? If you talk to a real life human at Earnest, it only takes 2 minutes. We've been on the Zoom call for like 2 hours.
Yes, we have. And Earnest knows how to do it. They do it quick. They do it painlessly. They do it the right way.
So if you're overwhelmed by your student debt right now, they are offering our listeners $100 cash bonus, Brandon. So not only is it easy, not only is it 2 minutes, it's quick, you get free money.
$100. I could use $100.
Everyone can use $100. $100 cash bonus right now if you refinance your student debt at earnest.com/Barstool. Terms and conditions do apply. Brandon, should I do the whisper thing? Should I do it?
The whisper thing, yes.
Visit earnest.com/Barstool for more details. Terms and conditions do apply. Earnest Student Loans Refinancing by Earnest Operations LLC in San Francisco, California. Visit earnest.com/licenses for a full list of licenses. By the way, speaking of showing things, we did get flashed today on the college football show.
Kayce, we did get flashed today.
Yeah, titties were shown today.
And they were not unattractive titties.
I didn't see them. I just heard you guys talking about
You
them.
didn't see them?
No.
They were dead center.
There was a lot of drunk people there. I was just trying to keep the show going along, but this is now our second. So West Virginia, we saw multiple naked people.
Yeah.
Now Blacksburg, naked.
Second set of titties. All right, before we get to all of the meat and potatoes, let's go ahead and do some particulars here. Let's do some fun stuff. So we did go to Blacksburg today. We were at Virginia Tech, and I want to say this. I've never been to Blacksburg for a game. Hell, I guess I still haven't been there for a game. But I walked down to Center Street, okay, where all the tailgating was. Listen, as a fan who's of the SEC, I've never heard that Virginia Tech has one of the craziest tailgating scenes in the country, but I'm here to tell you Center Street is one of the craziest tailgating atmospheres I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of sad that I didn't go with you. We had a lot of we had issues today getting to Blacksburg. We don't have to get into it, but it was a little bit of a stressful day. But I've heard amazing things. I know that that Dave and Pat McAfee and Julie Stewart-Binks were there in like 2017 when they first started it, and they've always said that the Center Street tailgate scene is the craziest it's ever been. Pat McAfee texted Dave today and said, "Make sure you're wearing a helmet," and I was like, "What the fuck?" But even we weren't on Center Street. We were at our own tailgate, and they were throwing nips at us all day.
I went down there. Center Street's like down in a little valley. Like there's a hill to get down in it, and then there's a hill to come up out the other side. And I looked down into it. I didn't go all the way in it, but it was full of people. It was wild. It was just a beautiful tailgating scene. And secondly, something that I'm very, very excited about. I bet you're excited about it too. For the first time since I've been here, outside of Clemson, South Carolina, which I don't count because it's not SEC, we're going south next week. And we're going south. We're going to Knoxville, Tennessee with the Barstool College Football Show. We're going to see a Tennessee and Ole Miss game. And I'm pretty sure we're actually going to go to the game this time. We're going to go inside. It's late. Hold on.
Neyland.
Thank you.
I was going to let you do it. I was going to let you really.
That's that. You call it dozen brain when you're playing a dozen, but Neyland Stadium. Thank you. On the bank of the Tennessee River.
I thought you were like trying to tell some joke there. I've never seen you like.
No, what I was doing, you know what was going on in my head?
Yeah, what?
I was going Thompson Bowling. Is it Thompson Bowling? That's their basketball arena.
Okay. By the way, I know we're talking about the college football show, but Tennessee, is not bad at all. Like if we're looking at first-year head coaches, Josh Heupel has probably over-exceeded. Today was a matchup of two first-year head coaches in that game, and Josh Heupel looked like he was in his 8th year against Shane Beamer. But anyways, I'm sure we'll get into every game.
All right, so we haven't properly.
Hold on, before we go on. I know you and I have been to a game in Knoxville.
Yeah.
I will say and granted, it's not, your school or my school, but the amount of excitement from Dan and Dave just getting to go see like Rocky Top and getting to see an SEC school. I'm so excited because we only go to schools right now that gambling is legal, which is not a lot of the SEC schools, or at least where the Barstool Sportsbook app is live, which I know a lot of people are like, why are you guys going to these games and whatever? Their minds are going to be blown when they see the Tennessee atmosphere. And I know Tennessee and Ole Miss, it's going to be crazy no matter what, but I'm so excited for them to see an SEC atmosphere.
And Ole Miss people get to see me being up on stage and making a whole lot of money. So fuck you, bang, bang. All right. So let's get back to OU Texas, because I thought this game had a chance to shape the rest of the season. And I think it did. Texas, if you're a Texas fan tonight, you're very disappointed, right? You had a 28-7 lead. You had multiple leads, 38-20, 38, just multiple big leads in the game. You should have won the game. You didn't. But you got to feel good with where Sark is. You got to feel good you found Kayce Thompson with 5 touchdowns today. You got to feel good. Bijan Robinson's just a sophomore. Like, I know it sucks right now. And I know that's not what Texas settles for. They don't settle for feeling good about their team. But they're kind of coming back. At the very least, they're coming back.
There is an inkling of coming back for sure. And Kayce Thompson does look really good. And also, their defense for a lot of that game. And we can talk about Spencer Rattler, we can talk about how he was benched, but they really showed out. There was just still, and I know you and I were sitting, at the tarmac waiting for the plane. There was still, no matter what the score was, there was still just this feeling around that game that was like, OU's not out of it, no matter what the score got to. And I don't know if that's because we're looking at the OU side of things, but for some reason, Texas didn't feel like they could put it away. And they obviously didn't, because OU won. Kayce Thompson's definitely their guy, but you can't have a 28-7 lead in your rivalry game in basically the first quarter and end up losing that game and say you're back.
Well, I think that feeling that OU was ultimately going to come back came from several places. We've seen Oklahoma come back from a deficit like that before. And on Lincoln Riley teams are never really out of it because they can score so fast. They can always score so fast no matter who the personnel is. B, the Texas defense can look okay at times. Like I don't know what his first name is. Is Demarion Overshone?
Yeah.
Unbelievable player that guy is, by the way. He is fantastic. He dominated the first half. But the Texas defense has shown the ability to give up points in bunches, and it's just this series period. It feels like it's always a game in the last 2 minutes, no matter what happens in the first 58.
And by the way, as an Aggie, and I tweeted this morning, like, I love this game. I absolutely love it. And it's, I hear a lot of people be like, well, why would you want to watch either OU or Texas when this rivalry game is one of the best in college football. And right now you've got a young coach in Lincoln Riley. You've got a first year in Sark. And you're right. It didn't matter what happened. The weird thing to me is, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Brandon, it was just like Texas had it. Texas had it in the first quarter. And if Texas was truly back, and I'm not discrediting them, they played very well today. If they were truly back, if this was really a team that was, contending for the playoffs despite losing to Arkansas, they would have put that game away, and they couldn't for the entire game. And that's not only a knock on them, but it's also saying like, oh, you benched Spencer Rattler and still was able to win that game. Spencer Rattler didn't play for the entire second half of the game.
Wait. You say, oh, you benched Spencer Rattler and we're still able to win that game. It is becoming painfully obvious they benched Spencer Rattler. That's why they won that game.
But I'm saying, like, on paper, you look at a guy like Spencer Rattler, who was a Heisman favorite coming into this year, whether he should have been or not.
I know what you're saying. You're not actually arguing it, but it is time to stop looking at guys on paper.
Fine, that's fair.
It is time to stop looking at Spencer Rattler on paper. He was on QB1. He was a 5-star recruit. Yes, that is great. What great hype he got. He kind of delivered last year a little bit towards the end of the season, but this guy was anointed the next star quarterback. This guy was given Heisman odds that were above everybody else. This guy was put on a pedestal he never earned. And if you don't earn it, when it gets tough, you're not going to be able to come through. And this guy has not – that OU offense does not go with him. He doesn't pull shots down the field. He doesn't push the ball down the field. He isn't decisive in his runs. He isn't decisive in anything. He is a timid quarterback, and you don't win football games timidly. He's not the guy. And
there was also mistakes that he made that were crucial. And I keep going back to the fact that, if Texas could just really put the foot on the gas, they could have buried them because of the mistakes that he was making. A couple of those, the first interception he threw, it was just like, what are you looking at? What are you doing?
I think that was a mistake by the tight end and him. They were on a different page, but that's a thing in itself. The tight end and the quarterback have not been on the same page all year. Like, that's not anything. And then he had a fumble where that was his fault. That was completely his fault.
100% his fault. But I do look at that game, and the over was the easiest thing on the planet because, again, you look at the Big 12, and the Big 12 defenses have stepped up. There's no doubt about that. But the Big 12 offenses it was a shootout. But Texas played so well for the majority of that game, and OU just did enough to end up coming back. And you're right. Like, Spencer Rattler's not the guy. Has he entered the transfer portal yet? Honestly, has he?
No, he hasn't. I don't think he has. But that'll be down the line. But right now, we have an undefeated Oklahoma. who has all but gotten beat at least 3 times, but they haven't gotten beat. See, that's the thing. Until you get beat, you're unbeaten. And they have not they've got alligator blood. They're just like living. They're just escaping these scenarios. They're escaping. And right now they come out of that. They outscore Texas 25-7 in the fourth quarter. All of a sudden they're undefeated and they have a new lease on life with Caleb Williams going down the stretch. And they don't exactly have the toughest part of their schedule coming up. They got a couple games here where they can get right. Hey, Oklahoma's going to be in the mix, and they're going to be in the mix all year.
It's funny because we were talking about at halftime that they benched Spencer Rattler in this game last year, correct? Right. And then they brought him back, and it was kind of like let's shake him up and let's see what happens. As soon as you saw that he was benched coming into the second half of this game, it was like Lincoln Riley is done. Like, we're going to see what happens. And now you're right. They are undefeated. They've gotten by the skin of their teeth or whatever that saying is for multiple games. But the Big 12, with everything else that's going on, and now especially Alabama going down, the playoff scenario going into the middle of October is insane.
It's
when
wide
you really
open.
Look at this.
I don't even think we need to worry about the playoff scenario until at least like the second week in November. Like, just let it all shake out.
You said earlier, it's like we've been waiting for chaos to truly break through. We've been saying every single week that it's chaos, and this feels like 2007. If you really look at, when we wake up tomorrow and you say, who would be the 4 teams in the playoff? The only team for sure, I think you say Georgia and then maybe Iowa. And I know we don't need to play hypotheticals, but
well, I think Georgia, Iowa, and then
Oklahoma.
No, and Cincinnati's probably in there at this point. So anyway, but that's another conversation for another day. We can have that playoff conversation on the next show. Oklahoma's next 3 games, by the way: TCU at home, at Kansas, Texas Tech at home. Like, they're going to be able to get right here with Caleb Williams. Just keep an eye on them going forward. All right. So if the day didn't belong to Oklahoma, and if it didn't belong to Texas A&M, it certainly belongs to Iowa. It belongs to Iowa, and it might belong to them anyway, because the biggest game coming in today was number 3 against number 4. It was Penn State at Iowa. Now, this is one of those where you have to put on 2 different hats. You have to put on the one hat of saying, this just feels like Iowa's year. Things broke their way. They were losing. I don't know that they win that game if Sean Clifford doesn't get hurt.
And then Jack, you're shaking your head.
Jack is certain they don't win that game if he doesn't get hurt.
Jack.
That was the quarterback they brought in. I think his name's Traquan Robinson or something. Tough situation, so I understand you getting thrown in last second, but he couldn't make any throw. And Sean Clifford was playing pretty well. I know he's not some world beater, but I mean, he's a good quarterback. And late in those games, let's just even say Iowa came back and tied it up or something. Sean Clifford could have made those drives at the end of the game to win it or tie it up, which is what Robertson couldn't. I don't even think it would have gotten to that point. They were humming with Sean Clifford, and then everything changed. You could feel it. So, I mean, not to take away from Iowa, but it just feels like they're on borrowed time right now.
But it feels like that, but we've been saying that every week.
I don't know that you can say they're on borrowed time, because sometimes it's just your year. Sometimes the gods smile on you. Sometimes things just break your way. Sometimes you put yourself in a position to succeed and fate does the rest. And for whatever reason, Iowa's just – I mean, everything they shit on turns to gold right now. They shouldn't have won that game, but they did win that game. And ultimately, all that matters is who won the game. Iowa won 23-20. Sean Clifford getting hurt is the least of Iowa's concerns. They now have a win over the number 4 team in the country. For Penn State, though, I don't know the extent of Sean Clifford's injury. I don't know if we'll know tomorrow. I don't know when we'll know. But that's certainly a team that they got 1 loss now, but they're not out of it. They're going to have a say in the Big Ten. And Iowa, to me, this is all about Iowa. Penn State will deal with later. Sean Clifford gets healthy. I think they've got a team that can really make some noise down the stretch, and possibly now they have to go into the horseshoe and they got to win, which sucks. But I don't know that they can't do that. So taking Penn State to the side, Iowa came in today, the biggest game in at least the recent history of that program, and probably one of the biggest games in the history of that program, and they won the game.
Okay, so like if you look at Iowa's schedule coming up, you have Purdue, Wisconsin,
Right.
Northwestern, Minnesota, Illinois, Nebraska.
Yeah, Iowa's already gotten through the tough part of their schedule.
Now, I'm not going to say easy because it's not ever going to be easy in the Power Five, but that's a lighter schedule than the beginning half of their schedule.
It's a lighter schedule, but also Alabama going to A&M was pretty light too. So let's just.
That was a ricochet shot. We didn't.
No, that's not a ricochet shot. That's not a ricochet shot.
I know. No.
We all agreed. I mean, they were 18-point favorites.
I know. God, having money line was pretty great, wasn't it?
But I think Iowa. I think their toughest game left is at Nebraska. Nebraska's going to pick somebody off.
They tried so hard tonight in that game. I know we're going to talk about that game.
Because Michigan fans are all in my DMs. Are we a fraud now? Are we a fraud now? Are we a fraud? Yeah, kind of. Like you got that flip at the end.
No, they're not. Like
they are. They turned the ball over twice this year. That turnover luck is going to flip on them. I'm telling you.
But you can say that about anybody. Georgia barely beat Clemson, and Clemson stinks. Like you can literally say that about anybody.
All right, we're going to get to a lot of other games here. We're going to keep talking about Iowa for a second. Kayce.
Brandon.
You know, I don't know if you noticed, but there were a lot of ladies in the crowd at Virginia Tech.
There were not only a lot of ladies, a lot of good-looking ladies.
I know, and I couldn't help but notice them noticing my hair. And it is getting to be a problem because when I had a bad haircut a couple of years ago, you know, people would just look at me and dismiss me. Oh, look at that moron from Mississippi. But now that I have these flowing locks, these old rags right here, the ladies just look at me and they make me make difficult decisions. Listen, ladies, I am taken. I know my hair looks fantastic. I know I look beautiful. But Kayce, have you noticed so many people looking at my hair?
I need you to move your computer screen up a little bit so I can really stare at that. Oh, stunning. And you know why? Because Erica Fleischman, she is a queen. She made you, she glowed you up so fast.
She did. I got the Fleischman glow up. She took care of me. And listen, if you don't live in New York, you probably can't go to Erica to get your hair cut, but you can take care of your hair the same way I take care of mine. She got the shampoo, the conditioner, all the ingredients are healthy. Everything's perfect with those. I take these gummy vitamins to make
they're amazing.
Nice. We have the sea salt spray that Kayce likes to use, that I like to use. I got the paste, the cream, all kinds of products that are just picked out by her, and they're done perfectly, and any idiot can do it. Look at my hair.
Well, you're not an idiot, but yes, any idiot can do it. She has all these bundles, and I've said it before, ladies, if you're listening, the sea salt spray is the best sea salt spray I've ever used. And right now, Brandon, if everyone that's listening goes to FleischmanSalon.com and uses the promo code
Walker,
you get 20% off right now. This includes all the bundles, so you get a lot of extra savings. That's Fleischman, FLEISHMAN salon.com. And honestly, Brandon, you've had a glow up in general. Like you've done a lot of things great for yourself. The best thing you've done is seen Erica Fleischman. Your hair looks phenomenal.
Yeah, I agree. She's been a godsend, and anybody that wants to look like this, go get the products. FleischmanSalon.com, code Walker. Also, where's the fight tonight, Jack? Vegas?
Vegas, just outside Vegas. And Wilder just got knocked out, so for another loss for Tuscaloosa.
That's fine. Well, it was impressive. Big E, the WWE champion. That guy was in Iowa City for Fox's show today, and he brought out the Hawkeyes. Then he's in Vegas bringing out Fury or Wilder. He brought out Wilder, right? No,
well, he gave I think he brought out Fury because he gave the speech on Fox, the little promo before they came out with for Fury. So either or, but he's there. So shout out Big E. I was kind of surprised by that, but I was like, that's awesome for him.
Big E, the WWE champion, former Iowa Hawkeye from, I believe, 04-06, I think, somewhere like that. Anyway, today is you can, if you want to, you can poke holes in Iowa's win. I don't think that should be done though, because Iowa won the game. Iowa has earned their way up to this spot. They still have an elite defense, and they're going to be a tough out for somebody in the Big Ten championship game. I want to talk about one more thing, though. Their fans rush the field. And I think on Twitter there was a lot of blowback saying, oh, they were favored in the game. They were the higher-ranked teams. Why do you rush the field? I think, I don't know if me and you said this together, Jack, but the only problem with rushing the field is it doesn't happen more. Like, I love rushing the field. I love that scene. And that scene where it's dark in Iowa City and the lights are just shining down on thousands of people joyously celebrating. That's what college football is all about. And it's beautiful. It doesn't matter if they were a favorite. It doesn't matter if they were higher ranked than Penn State. This is the biggest win they've had in the last 30 or 40 years. And to celebrate after all the fucking shit we've been through, fucking beautiful. And I hate most of the people on that field. But in fairness, this is one of the best stories in college football this season.
I was about to say, Brandon, credit to you, because if there was any school other than Ole Miss that you would talk shit about rushing the field, it would be Iowa, and you're the one giving them credit. So I would like everyone that's out there that's listening to realize that Brandon Walker is saying it's okay that Iowa rushed the field today, which is a massive compliment, because you don't say anything nice about Iowa, ever.
Well, Brandon Walker tells the truth at all times. Sometimes fan bases can handle it. Sometimes fan bases can't handle it. I told the truth 2 years ago. I tell them the truth now. Just is what it is. And if you were going into the season and you want chaos and you want something to upset the apple cart and you want things to be out of the ordinary and different, teams like Iowa are the things that are byproducts of that. Nobody thought Iowa was going to come up to they'll be number 2 in the country tomorrow. They're going to be number 2 in the country.
I said this last week. I hate the fines for rushing the field. I think it's soft. I understand there's like a safety issue. What the fuck? Who cares? Rush the field whenever you want. Rush the court. Do whatever you need to do. And I know, again, like a lot of people were saying like, well, you were ranked and blah, blah, blah. Who cares? Like, that's what makes college football so cool. And, you know, I'm getting a million texts right now, not to bring it back to A&M, but I'm getting a million texts from all of my friends who are at Kyle Field with everyone rushing the field. Just do it. Who cares?
Ultimately, with Iowa, can they win the national title?
No.
No, they can't. I mean, they don't have the good enough quarterback. They don't. But can they make the playoff? Can they make the playoff? I think that answer is yeah, they can. Because now they've gotten through the hard part of their schedule. If they can get to undefeated, they can get in a spot where they could potentially lose the Big Ten title game and still get in. Now, that's going to require a lot of moving pieces and stuff, but it's on the table. And with that defense, they're going to have a puncher's chance against anybody in Indianapolis.
And you say a lot of moving pieces. Like, of course, like to lose a conference championship, there's going to have to be some moving pieces. But at this point, and I said this, you know, earlier, it's not like there's some crazy scenario where a one-loss conference team that lost in the conference championship could be in because of how much everything else is going crazy right now.
Now, in the SEC, it's just organized chaos right now. You've got LSU beating Mississippi State by 3 a couple of weeks ago. You got Mississippi State then going and beating Texas A&M last week. Texas A&M now goes and beats Alabama tonight. You got Arkansas beating A&M a couple of weeks ago. You got Ole Miss losing to Alabama by 100 last week. Now, Ole Miss and Arkansas play one of the best games in the last 10 years tonight. And this is a series, by the way, might be one of the most underrated series in the country because this isn't even the first 52-51 game these teams have played in the last decade. They played one in 2015 with the 4th and 25. They also played the first 7 overtime game in history in 2001. Like, this is a series that has given us incredible moments. And it's another one today where Ole Miss ends up winning 52-51 when Arkansas scores at the very, very, very end. And Sam Pittman decides to go for 2 to win the game. What do you think, Kayce?
It's always in hindsight. It's a great thing to do in the moment, right? And it's like you have balls and congratulations, but if you don't get it, then you look like an asshole.
I applaud the choice. If you go to overtime, you're playing Matt Corral, and you're playing.
Give yourself a chance.
But you're playing an offense that has just ripped your titties apart all day.
Oh.
And they're getting the ball at the 25. Like, Matt Corral's scoring 9 times out of 10 there. And the 52-51 game they played in 2015, Brett Bielema famously went for 2 after they scored they were going to tie it. He went for 2 and he ends up getting it and winning it. And that's just that's the difference in winning or losing. They got it, won. Today they didn't get it, lost. I mean, it's just one little bitty play from 3 yards out, and it makes such a big difference.
So I get called a pussy when I talk about this with blackjack, but the way I kind of, and maybe it's just because I would never be a good head coach, but it's like when you have like a 16 and you're supposed to hit on a 16, right. I never want to, because I'm like, I at least want to give myself a chance that the dealer busts. I at least want to have it, like, instead of me busting and the dealer busting, at least I'm giving myself a chance. That's the way I feel about making those decisions. Yes, if you're trying to play to win the game because you know Matt Corral is going to get the ball in overtime and going to beat you, that's a risk, but at least give yourself a chance in overtime. And that's the way I see it. And again, that's probably a cowardly way to look at it. But in that moment with a crazy game, with the atmosphere that was going on, like you said, it's one of the best games we've seen in a long time. Just kick the field goal and go to overtime, man. Because you don't have a chance at all if you go for 2 and you don't make it.
Well,
like,
you also have
soft, maybe, I don't know.
Arkansas can run the football. They got KJ Jefferson. I mean, they I don't know.
Would you have gone for 2?
Huh?
Would you have gone for 2?
Yeah, I probably would have.
I wouldn't have. But again, maybe I'm soft.
But I would have gotten it, though.
Oh.
I think that's the mistake Sam Pittman made. He should have gotten it.
Right. So what he did wrong was not convert it.
And I think that's the mark of an inexperienced coach, not getting the 2-point conversion, because an experienced coach would have preferred to get it right there.
Right. So when we dissect this game, what happened is Sam Pittman didn't have his team convert the 2-point conversion.
Right. And that was a mistake. Okay. That was a complete mistake. I really listen, if I'm in the huddle and I'm leading that team, I would have told the team, convert this.
Yeah, definitely. Like, you need to get these 2 points.
Yes.
If you don't, the game is over. If you do, we win. Sam Pittman.
Also, listen, nobody's a bigger or more of a class guy than me. I famously, a couple weeks ago after they beat A&M, said I was wrong about Sam Pittman. And my God, I mean, I'm just a first class guy, top notch. Sam Pittman's 7-9 at Arkansas. 7-9. He's 7-9 overall. No, he's 7-9 overall. I'm not judging. I'm saying, informationally speaking, he's played 16 games and he's lost 9 of them.
So what you're saying is that he's not as good as Arkansas fans think he is?
Whoa. I said nothing of the sort.
I was just clarifying.
There's no judgment whatsoever. I'm saying that they've had 16 results since he got there. 9 of them have been losses, 7 have been wins, and they suck his tits like he's the best sow in the world.
I will say, though, and I have to say this loud and clear so Arkansas fans don't get in my ass about this. One of those wins is against A&M just a few weeks ago. Okay. All right. Whatever. Fine. One of them's against Texas. Okay, fine.
How's Alabama gonna bounce back from this 2-game losing streak?
Nick Saban is – wait, do they play Mississippi State next week?
Oh, yeah.
What time is that game?
Huh? 6?
What time is that game?
Night game. Cowbells.
We're going to be in Knoxville.
Air raid. Shit.
Boy.
We got a lot going on in the SEC next week. I believe we got Georgia, Kentucky next week.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of Kentucky.
And speaking of Kentucky, I'll get to that right now. So Kentucky, hey, I was wrong about a lot today. So we'll have a chance to get that. Kentucky 6-0. Kentucky 6-0. I said they beat LSU in the fall, in the summer. This is about 2 teams. Let's say Kentucky at first. Great. I don't think they're all that good. They're good enough, though. They're 6-0. They're good. They're tough. They're physical. Mark Stoops has built a good program at Kentucky, and my God, hats off to him. Fantastic. But what they're about to do is one of the more disheartening things in college football. They're about to convince themselves, they're about to believe they can go beat Georgia. They're going to talk themselves into going to Athens and beating Georgia, and it is going to hurt their feelings.
Yeah, so Georgia's next, obviously, and then it's you guys, Tennessee, Vanderbilt, New Mexico State, and Louisville. So it's like.
By the way, we've already mentioned it, but like if I told you that Georgia, Mississippi State, Tennessee were your next 3 games, you would say, "Whew, get through Georgia, I'm okay." Mississippi State, Tennessee back to back is looking a little uglier than it should.
That's why this year, and not just the SEC, but everybody, I'm going to say it. We haven't said it yet. So if you're keeping track at home, drinking game, the transitive property, it's like, how the fuck did LSU beat Mississippi State? And then Kentucky played them the way that they did. It's like, you can't make sense of any of it.
Yeah. So Kentucky's 6-0, good for them. On the other side, though, Ed Orgeron is done. He's done. It's over.
You think they'll wait till the end of the season?
I think they'll wait to the end of the season. I think it's over. I think they're put out with him. They understand that he was able to ride a couple of assistants' coattails to a national championship. He was able to mascot his way to a national title, and he's not a good coach. He doesn't know how to pull them out of this slide. He doesn't know really. He's not a head coach. He is a CEO that got lucky on his hires once and has utterly botched the hires ever since. And he's done. He'll be gone from LSU very, very soon. They're making sure they get all the things behind the scenes in a row, and they will fire him very soon. Oh, we didn't talk about him threatening to kill the guy the other day.
Now, I was about to say he's a little unhinged, right?
Oh, he's definitely unhinged.
Yeah,
but I think the guy deserved it. I thought that was hilarious.
Yes, but it's an unhinged move, Jack.
Oh, it's certainly an unhinged move, but still, I thought the guy deserved it. The guy called in, hey, don't have sex with her. Shut up, man. Calling a call-in show just to try to get your fucking jokes off. Shut up.
I agree. But Jack, it's unhinged.
He was unhinged. Yeah, he was unhinged.
It's funny.
Funny, I guess. I've never heard that line before. Like, we have a place for guys like you in the Bayou, but I mean, I guess it's because I didn't grow up in the Bayou. So, but yeah, it was great content. So I won't.
Jack's all about content. It doesn't matter if it's unhinged or if it's unnecessary. Jack is all about content.
So,
oh wait, hold on. Should we say a prayer for UConn, or are we going to do that later?
We'll do that later.
Okay.
Jack
just rolled his eyes so hard at me.
one more Ole Miss thing. Would you say Matt Corral's leading the Heisman race right now? Or has the Heisman race even started? It doesn't feel like it started.
I took a deep breath there. I mean, it feels like it started because we talk about it, right? So it has to, like, somebody – we don't have votes, which, by the way, we should lobby for. We should have votes.
All right, so I have a name that I'm just going to throw out there. I want you guys to let it swim around the pool a little bit.
I think I have a name too. I wonder if it's the same one.
Well, you say your name first.
Desmond Ridder.
That's not my name.
Okay.
My name, yours is fine. Yours is in the mix right now. My name is a guy that we gave up for dead. We gave up his team for dead when they lost to Oregon, but CJ Stroud is putting up numbies. He's doing things. They're scoring 66 points, and he's about to get a string of opponents who are going to be higher ranked than maybe their capabilities. Like, he's going to get to play Penn State very soon. He's going to get to play Michigan State. He'll play Michigan. All could be in the top 10 at the time he plays them. If he goes off on these teams, CJ Stroud's somebody that can put himself in the mix, as is Travion Henderson.
Yeah, no, we definitely buried him early. And again, I've said this a million times. We've all said it. It was just they really did themselves a disservice losing, like so early in the season.
I think they did themselves a service.
Well, they now, yes, but I'm saying like when they played Minnesota that opening weekend and he didn't look that great, it was like, oh shit. And then they lose week 2 and it's like, okay, we're done here. Yes, in general, because it's recency bias, but like for CJ Stroud for sure, the Big Ten to me is still so interesting. And I know Penn State lost today, and Iowa.
Hold that thought. Oh. I don't know if the Big Ten is the best team in the country, but I think it's the most interesting and exciting conference in the country, for sure.
I would agree with that because, I mean, and we said this, I don't know if it was the earlier in the week episode, or if it was last week, that in general, we didn't know which team in every single conference was undeniably the best team. Now we know Georgia is in the SEC. We know that.
I still stupidly am waiting for Michigan to turn into a pumpkin.
Brandon?
I'm still waiting for Michigan State to turn into a pumpkin.
But why?
I think Iowa could turn into a pumpkin. But As of right now, you've got Michigan State, who's undefeated. You got Michigan, who's undefeated. You have Iowa, who's undefeated. You have Penn State, who has one loss, and that was with a very good built-in excuse. You have Ohio State with one loss, and they have more firepower than anybody. This is going to create some of the best Big Ten matchups in recent history over the next few weeks. Just in the Big Ten East, Penn State still has to play Michigan. They still got to play Ohio State. They still got to play Michigan State.
And listen, I mean, so Michigan State plays Indiana next.
Right. And they'll kill them.
And then they have a bye.
Right. And then, yes.
And then they play Michigan. Michigan plays Northwestern next. Then they have a bye. Then they play Michigan State. So, like, we're going to figure it out. But, like, you're looking at the end of October, October 30th, having Michigan State probably both undefeated going into that game. And that's insane to think about. Then you still have Iowa. You still have Ohio State with the one loss. And there's so much going on in the Big Ten. And I know you think that Ohio State is the best team in the Big Ten, which is, it's not a terrible take whatsoever. But every single week, Michigan is winning. Every single week, Michigan State is winning. Now, Iowa is going to be number 2 in the country. Like you said, it's crazy to look at this conference.
By the way,
be able to say who's the best one.
Michigan State, Michigan, undefeated, could happen October 30th. Penn State, Ohio State, also October 30th.
Holy shit.
So, I mean, that could be like a little Final Four in the East feel a little bit. It's and the games are exciting, like Michigan wins today. And listen, if you're a Michigan fan, don't you want me to keep doubting you? Don't you want me? Because it keeps working. Like, I don't know how they won the game in Nebraska. It's tied at 29. Nebraska has the ball with 2 minutes left. They're kind of driving. And Adrian Martinez, God bless him, every time he has a chance to do something, he loses. He fumbles the football.
You just answered your own question, Brandon. Why did they lose?
Adrian Martinez fumbled that football. It's 29-29, and he fumbles. And I'm not sure his progress wasn't stopped. I'm not sure it shouldn't have been stopped. But anyway, that didn't happen. And Scott Frost, my God, like, Nebraska's not bad, but they're 3-4. They like invent ways to lose. They should not have lost that game.
No, they shouldn't have. And I mean, complete hand up. Like, I wasn't physically watching it. I was watching it on my phone because it was on at the same time as A&M Alabama, and we had gotten home, and I only have one TV in my living room. My bad. But when I saw what happened at the end of the game, I didn't even have to like go look at exactly what happened. I was like, oh, Adrian Martinez fucked up. Like there's just no rhyme or reason why we thought Adrian Martinez was a Heisman contender going into last year. And we've seen it time and time again. But I still think even though Michigan is squeaking out these wins, we saw them squeak out a win against Rutgers. We saw them squeak out a win tonight. They're really, really good. And Ohio State's burying teams, but Michigan's good.
Are they? Jack, what do you think? Am I just being stubborn?
Yes, Jack. He's being stubborn.
You're not. Are you Jack?
I'm setting Jack up.
You're not Jack. I asked him a question. All right. He's in between us right now. Am I crazy here?
I thought that was an impressive win for Michigan, and there was also times they could have easily fallen apart, especially in the fourth. Old Michigan would have fallen apart, and we would have been the same old Michigan with Jim Harbaugh. Am I sold on them? No, but I think they're definitely a top 10 team. And do I think they can beat Ohio State at the end of this year? Yeah. I think the game's in Michigan too this year, so we're going to see with them. Michigan State is another team that I'm not sold on at all, but they took it to Rutgers today. Like, we discredit it, and it's not just this show, but just in general, a lot of impressive things to do. Nebraska's a good team. We're talking about a good team, and we just listed out reasons why they're a good team. Michigan beat them in their own house in a very big game on national TV at night.
And we buried Nebraska early because they lost to Illinois, but they're still a good football team.
They're okay. They're okay, but every time they have a chance to be a good football team, they fail. Every time they have a chance to be a good team, they fail.
The Big Ten, Jack, when you think like the Big Ten right now is just a gigantic question mark.
Yeah, well, it's a question mark, but I think we can also say that Ohio State's probably in that top 4 again. They just look. I don't know if you got to watch them today. They made Maryland. I know Maryland was in a mass letdown situation, but they made Maryland look like a disgustingly bad team, and they did that to Rutgers too. So Ohio State looks like they're back, but again, there's a lot of games coming up in the Big Ten that will start to help us decide who's who in that division and conference.
Definitely. And again, I'm not saying Ohio State stinks by any stretch. I'm not saying they're the worst team or in comparison to Michigan, Iowa, whatever. But until Michigan State, and Iowa lose, you still have to put them ahead of Ohio State.
Absolutely, you do not. No, that's bullshit. Absolutely.
Who is Ohio State beaten that it's so impressive to you?
I think they just look better. I think they are a better football team. Just because Michigan is beating these teams that are not good, I don't think they're skating by. Ohio State's beating teams by 90. I mean, Ohio State's killing teams. You can see with your eyeballs what a good team looks like when Ohio State plays.
They lost to Oregon.
Fine, whatever.
Oregon lost to Stanford.
They lost to Oregon, yes. But if I'm ranking the top 4 right now, I don't even think about Michigan or Michigan State. I consider Ohio State.
Which this is like a being hypocritical. Like I wouldn't put Michigan State there, but I still, and maybe I'm just biased somehow. You can't just credit Michigan.
I don't know why you can't. But here's the thing.
They're undefeated.
They're undefeated, yeah. But we're talking about who's good, who's bad. We're not talking about whose record is great.
Do you think Oregon's good?
We're talking about Oregon is a good team. Of course, Oregon's good. But we're talking about who is good and who is bad. I'm not saying Michigan's bad. I'm saying they're not as good as their record. Ohio State is great. I think they have figured it out, and they're going to be the team that comes out of the Big Ten.
What do you think about Oklahoma State?
They're just waiting to get beat. I think Texas probably takes them down this week.
But that's like it's so easy to look at different teams and be like, well, they're waiting to get beaten, and they're not. They haven't yet. And I'm not saying Oklahoma State should be in that conversation, but until they get beaten, they should be talked about like, okay, well, nobody's beat them yet.
Let me ask you it like this, okay? Let's say Texas A&M was granted a free ride to the national championship game, which is going to be held next Saturday. It's going to be held in Nashville, Tennessee.
Okay.
Would you rather play Michigan or would you rather play Ohio State? You would, of course, rather play Michigan. There's no –
either.
It's not even close.
Can I plead the fifth?
No. You will, of course, rather play Michigan. No.
To be completely honest with you, like, of course, like, but that's why our brains are wired to say Ohio State because of what's happened in the last few years. But right now, Ohio State has been beaten. Michigan hasn't.
But Michigan,
I would have told you before tonight, I don't want to play Alabama. Alabama just got beaten.
Fair. That's why we play the games. But if Michigan had played Oregon, what conversation are we having then?
Well, I don't know because they haven't played it. We have to see. But I feel like our brains and Alabama is included in that. And you have said this with Alabama, and there's no doubt about that we're pre-programmed to look at these teams like Ohio State, like Alabama, like Clemson, who now is out of that conversation, like Oklahoma. And it's like, well, they're always there. Ohio State is beating the shit out of teams, but they have already lost to a team that's already lost as well.
All credit to Michigan for being undefeated because that's all that really matters right now. But I'm sorry, I don't watch a team beat Rutgers by 7. I don't watch a team beat Nebraska by 3. I don't watch that happen and think, oh, this team can beat Ohio State. I think Ohio State's just going to walk the fucking dog on Michigan.
Can I tell you from a side point, like a side bet, I'd rather play Ohio State so I didn't have to deal with Dave.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Fair enough. But, I mean, I don't know, man. Ohio State's coming up schedule. They got Indiana next week. They got a bye. Then they got Indiana. Then it's just this last month of the season in the Big Ten. And I listen, I'll make that point in a minute. Last month in the Big Ten, you got Ohio State October 30th against Penn State. Then they go to Nebraska. Then they have Purdue. Then they host Michigan State. And then they go to Michigan. This is all going to sort itself out in a wonderful collision of all these teams that have gotten to this point in the season doing the right things and winning these games. It's going to be an incredible – the second half of the Big Ten schedule looks like one of the most exciting conference races I've ever seen.
Ever. And we talk about, everyone wants to argue which is the best conference when it comes to competition.
Stop right there. If Alabama is beatable and vulnerable like they look, Big Ten very well could be the number one conference in the country.
Well, I think that they are, because you still have 3 teams that are undefeated that are in the top.
You keep using the word undefeated too much. I want to know who's good, who's bad. I don't want to just say undefeated.
Okay,
Kentucky's undefeated, but nobody believes Kentucky's undefeated. Nobody believes they're the best team in the SEC.
Well, that was going to be my next question. So Kentucky's undefeated, but you would easily say, I mean, you think Georgia's going to win the national championship, which is totally fine. Who in the Big Ten is the best undefeated team?
Iowa.
That's my point.
Iowa.
Don't know.
Okay, I don't know. You're right. I don't know.
So in the SEC, in the ACC,
what I'm trying to argue is you are equating undefeated with good, but undefeated with bad.
No. I'm saying that there's a question mark with it. In the Big 12, who's the best undefeated team?
Oklahoma.
In the Pac-12, there's nobody that's undefeated that you would think is going to be in the playoff, right?
There's nobody undefeated, period.
Right. In the Big 10, you don't know who the best undefeated team is.
We'll see. But
you just don't. In the SEC, it's Georgia. In the Big 12, it's OU. There's nobody in the Pac-12. In the ACC, there's nobody. In the Big 10, we do not know between Michigan.
I'm sorry. What'd you say? Did you say there's nobody in the ACC?
There's nobody in the ACC that you can say for sure is the best team.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let's not act like Wake Forest isn't 6-0 like I predicted.
They are undefeated, but do you think they're the best team in the ACC?
I have no fucking idea who the best team is.
By the way, Katie, I mean, I know she's not here to defend herself.
God bless her. Last year, with Starkville, on the night of Florida State, North Carolina, they lose. She eats styrofoam, and tonight she's going down Chapel Hill to walk tomorrow, and they.
Mac Brown can't beat Florida State.
Colossal. It's just time to talk about it. Colossal disappointment from North Carolina this year.
They're the biggest disappointment. Who's a bigger disappointment?
I would say North Carolina. They were very high. Let's see. I'm going to lay some out. Wisconsin's disappointing.
Yep.
Washington's disappointing, but they weren't as highly ranked as North Carolina. Iowa State disappointing, but they don't have 3 losses yet. I think I'm missing somebody, obviously.
Miami, but I mean, that died quick. But I do think people were high on Miami. Maybe just me, but.
Yeah, well, no, Miami was preseason number 14. I believe Carolina was 9 or 10. And yeah, North Carolina losing to Virginia Tech, whatever. North Carolina losing that second game, it's late. I don't know who it was to. Whatever. North Carolina losing to Florida State, a Florida State team that we thought might go winless a couple of weeks ago, a Florida State team that lost to Jacksonville State, and not only losing to them, getting handled. I mean, hammered.
So Katie said last week, I can't remember who did Florida State beat last week?
Syracuse.
When she was like, well, if they lost to Syracuse, then I was going to be really worried because like an 0-5 Florida State. I'm like, Katie, you shouldn't say that. Mac Brown's like, what, 0-9, now 0-10 against Florida State? Like, yeah. Florida State is horrible. They are awful. And, Sam Howell was on the top of a lot of Heisman lists. I don't know what the fuck is going on. But again, the ACC in general is, you've been on Wake Forest. Like, is Wake Forest the representative for the ACC? How crazy would that be?
Who's the best quarterback in the country?
It's a great question. I think it's Matt Corral.
Yeah, Matt. Bryce didn't really have a bad game tonight.
Bryce didn't have a bad game, but they lost to an unranked A&M team. But I still think that I still think Bryce is the best quarterback.
I don't think Bryce Young's the best quarterback. Even if they had won tonight, I think Bryce Young is a good quarterback, and I think he's going to be a great quarterback. I don't think he's the best quarterback in the country right now. I do think
Desmond Ridder. Like, I know it's crazy because it's Cincinnati, but
Desmond Ridder's very good. There's a couple of smaller school guys that are just
Malik Willis.
I know who it is. It's Michael Penix. It's Michael Penix.
Yeah, it is Michael Penix. I don't know why we even had this argument.
Obviously, the Indiana fans were so mad at us for keeping him off of our list. It's clearly Michael Penix.
Listen, I hate it right now, but Matt Corral's the best quarterback in the country as of right now. And I think he's got the kind of blow-up potential where he'll blow it at some point. But I think he's the best quarterback in the country right now.
That's big of you, Brandon.
Well, I'm a big man. I know I'm
a big man.
Guy. How many times have I given Sam Pittman credit at Arkansas, by the way, who's 7-9 through a year and a half?
I saw you getting chirped about Arkansas again today on Twitter. And I just feel like it's never going to escape you ever.
Just a remarkably dumb group of people. I'm just going through, like, even the passing leaders, like when Jack asked who's the best quarterback in the country, Bailey Zappi of Western Kentucky, he's not the best quarterback in the country. Brendan Armstrong. Will Rogers is third in the country. Jake Hayner, who had the loss to Hawaii last week.
Rico. That's a Rico pick.
Tanner Mordecai at SMU is not bad.
By the way, a complete from left field because I'm watching it. UCLA is not pulling away from Arizona, and I'm not okay with it.
I don't think UCLA is very good.
But Arizona is the worst team I would say worst team in the FBS.
Well, now hold on.
Who's worse?
No, the game didn't happen.
Damn. Sorry, Jack. I walked into that one, huh?
I mean, they lost. This was their big moment, and they lost 27-13 to UMass.
And UMass rushed the field, right?
Yeah.
Did they really?
Yeah, their fans rushed the field.
That's phenomenal.
They rushed the field, Brandon.
So,
it was quiet.
UMass's and Walt Bell's 2 victories over the past 3 years have been Akron -9 and then UConn. So, yeah, I'm just kind of devastated about it.
To be honest,
I don't.
Brandon, look at this.
Oh wow, yeah, look at that. Crowd surfing is that UMass?
Yeah.
Anyway, all right, so let's fire off a couple more takes here, and then we'll get to who won the week, who lost the week, shit list, all that stuff. Couple more takes. Okay. This is what the first UMass win of 2021 looks like, and they are rushing the field. There it is. And don't know why you feel the need to rub Jack's face in it, but whatever. You
wanted you to see it.
Okay.
This is like.
No, but Jack, I would still say that Arizona.
That tweet should have said that is the first win for UMass since 2019. Which, by the way, as I'm saying that, UConn doesn't have a win since 2019 either. So,
Jack, I still think that Arizona is worse than you guys.
No, Arizona would beat us.
They're not.
Sad.
So if we talk any more about UConn, UMass, I'm going to throw myself off my balcony.
Please don't.
Move on.
As we continue to talk. Okay. Quietly shitting the bed today. And I got 2 takes I want to fire off, and then we'll start to transition to other things. Quietly shitting the bed today. A team that I called the new Boise, BYU, number 10 in the country, just
quiet.
Shits the bed. Now, there's all kind of chaos and shit going on. Iowa, Penn State's happening at the same time. BYU just quietly goes out there, number 10 team in the country, and just gets beat by Boise.
No one was talking about it at all. When I went to check the scores on the Sportsbook app, I was like, wait a minute, what the fuck? But they happened to just slide under the radar because of how crazy everything else was today. Terrible showing by them.
You know who that benefits the most?
Cincinnati.
Because Cincinnati was going to get in a situation if they went undefeated, and I think they probably will go undefeated. Their resume could stand, especially with Notre Dame winning tonight. Their resume could stand okay. But if BYU had gone undefeated, you would have at least had to compare the two. And BYU would have had a win over Arizona State. BYU would have had a win over Utah. Like, there was going to be a moment where you say, well, no, wait a minute. Cincinnati, we're going to put them in the playoff, but BYU over here has a good resume too. Now they don't have to worry about that because BYU just choked on their own vomit.
Well, that was graphic.
Well, I mean, they choked.
Did you watch Breaking Bad?
I did not know.
Oh, Jack, did you watch Breaking Bad?
Mm-mm.
Very sad scene where Jesse's girlfriend dies choking on her vomit, but whatever, continue.
Oh, geez.
God,
that's what they told us would happen to us in middle school. If you drank, you would
you got to turn each other on your sides. Yes.
Anyway.
But, Brandon, you are correct that it opens up the door for Cincinnati. And that's, we talked about it last weekend with Cincinnati. The way that they're playing and them being undefeated and probably going to go undefeated throughout the season, it is crazy to think that we are sitting in the middle of October and we're like, Cincinnati's probably in the top 4 right now. Like if ESPN came out with their college football playoff rankings right now, Cincinnati would be in that category, which is wild being a G5 team. Brandon, we were on the road once again for the college football show. We were in Blacksburg. We're going to be in Knoxville next week, all presented by FTX, formerly known as Blockfolio. And as we know, they're the leader in cryptocurrency right now.
Yeah, and they're great. They're fantastic. I lost my lock again, so I've lost my lead for $50,000 in crypto, and Dave Portnoy is now leading that. So, my God, we all need him to win $50,000 in crypto. Won't that be fantastic?
Well, he did say on the show today that he doesn't give a shit about $50,000 in crypto. He just wants to beat you. So that is, it's now a spite thing. But FTX is giving one of us on the college football panel, between the 5 of us, $50,000 also at every single live show. Somebody, whether drunk or not, they're going to get $15,000 in crypto just for showing up if you sign up with FTX using your .edu address. And if you can't come to the live show, so if you weren't in Blacksburg today, you're not going to be in Knoxville, you can still sign up right now. And if you go to FTX and use your .edu, there's a $100,000 prize split amongst signups using your .edu. So all you have to do, if you're listening right now, Texas A&M, pretty big night. Use your tamu.edu email, and then you can get your score higher on the board with your school. Visit the App Store right now, download FTX for free, sign up, again, using your .edu email to increase your school's chances to win. And Brandon, I will say this right now. I'm obviously going to be out of the running because I stink right now with locks.
Right.
If you win, you have to split it with me.
No, I don't. That's you're 1-6. You're 1-6. You could have said,
excuse me, I'm winning right now. I'm watching the TV right now. UCLA is winning.
All right.
Fine.
Whatever.
Go download FTX.
But with all the talk, with everything, there's one take that I have that I think rises above all the others right now. We can talk about Iowa. We can talk about A&M. We can talk about Michigan. We can talk about Nebraska. We can talk about everything that happened today. But ultimately, it all pales to this take.
Oh, boy.
Georgia's the best football team in the country. Georgia, listen, we have seen Alabama, who was number 1. We saw them go to Florida and escape, win by 2, okay? We've seen Ohio State lose to Oregon. We've seen Iowa kind of need Sean Clifford to go down to win that game. We've seen all these things happen. Everything is broken certain teams' way. Georgia's walking into people's living rooms and beating the fucking shit out of them.
I mean, the fucking shit out of them.
Georgia's walking into Auburn, and Auburn's not a bad team. Auburn just went to Penn State, lost by 8. Auburn went to Baton Rouge and won. And Georgia walked in there and treated them like they were kids, like they were just like they didn't belong in the same league. This Georgia defense smothers you, suffocates you, chokes you, destroys your will to live. And they just keep coming. And Stetson Bennett, he's not great. Doesn't have to be.
Doesn't have to be, though.
He doesn't have to be great at all. And they've got a quarterback that they're getting healthy. And when they get down the stretch of the season, he's going to be fresh as a fucking daisy. Georgia's really fucking good.
Can I admit something?
Yeah.
Georgia is really fucking good, obviously.
Right.
I can't get it out of my brain that they barely beat Clemson. And I know it was in week 1, and I know we should put that behind us. It's been 2 months ago. I get that. I just still can't get over it because of how bad Clemson is.
Okay, you're going to have to get over that immediately.
I know. I have to get over a lot of things, Brandon.
Listen to this. I don't even care what – I'm trying to pull up the schedule. As soon as I do, we'll have a nice conversation, Pete. So they win the first game 10-3, right? Whatever. They played Clemson. I understand. Since then, 56-7, 40-13, 62-0, 37-0, 34-10. That's a ranked team they beat today. That's a ranked team they beat last week. They outscored Auburn and Arkansas 71-10 over 2 weeks.
Also, LOL at Auburn, because Bo Nix had that one fantastic play last weekend, and we all were so mean to Bo Nix. We saw it happen again today.
So Georgia's got, I think they're the best team in the country. They got Kentucky next week in Athens. Then they got the neutral site game at Florida, and you can tell my voice is pretty much done.
Mine is too.
Missouri, they'll handle that. Sneaky, the toughest game they might have left is at Tennessee because Josh Heupel's starting to I mean, Tennessee's exciting. It's weird that Tennessee's excited. We got to have Big T on Tuesday. Can we promise we have Big T on Tuesday?
We have to have him this week, especially because we're going to Knoxville.
Oh, you know what's going to suck about that? I should probably say this off air. Never mind.
No, go ahead.
You know how many people are going to try to get on that trip? Big T is going to try to go. Mintz is going to try to go. Doug's is going to try to go.
Yeah.
Hey, but you know what, Brandon? That's above our pay grade. Babe.
Yeah, we don't have to worry.
We don't care about that. Yeah. We're going to be on the plane no matter what.
That's right.
I heard you guys almost didn't have a plane today.
Jack, we got there, right?
Jack.
And first of all, they wanted to move the plane from 1 to 2. This is going to be boring. I'll go through it real quick. They wanted to move the plane from 1 to noon. And they said no. And not only can you not move from 1 to noon, it's actually going to be late. You're not going to leave till 2. So they text us this, can't leave till 2. We get there at 2, and they say the plane will be here in 5 minutes. They literally come to us about 2 o'clock. Plane will be here in 5 minutes. It gets to 2:45, no plane. And then the guy comes in and says, yeah, you might not go. What?
Dave, in like the most rich person move of all time, he just kind of sits back with his coffee and he was like, yeah, we're going to call my guy. Fuck these people. And it was just because he was like, never in my life flying private have I been told we can't go. And then they came in and they were like, so like, you know, when do you guys need to get there? And he's like, well, we have a show for thousands and thousands of people, so we need to get there. And I'm just sitting there like, I can't even fathom the way that this works. And then all of a sudden we're on an even bigger plane than we were supposed to be on. We were supposed to be on a G4. I don't know what the next one is because I'm not versed in that, but Bree, our flight attendant, phenomenal. She was so great. She gave Brandon some white wine. Shout out Bree.
By the way, me and Kayce have just settled into a routine. We're travel buddies now.
Oh yeah.
Whenever we go on the plane, the private plane, and I know this is boring, we always sit together. We sit together in the back of the plane, and she gets her wine. I put my feet up on her chair. We're travel buddies.
Jack, can I tell you something that Brandon's now started to do? He puts his arm around me when we're walking on the tarmac to the plane, because, you know, you walk obviously like out to the private jet so that the pilots think that I'm his side piece.
Yeah, that's right. Mm-hmm.
He wants the crew to think that I'm with him.
When are you going to realize in our relationship that I want people to think I'm having sex? Remember, I don't want to have it. I don't want I want people to think I am. Remember in Miami, what happened?
So wait, I'm sorry. You want people to think that I'm a homewrecker?
Not you. Just anybody.
Okay. In Miami, you left my shorts that you wore, that you had on your body,
right
next to your bed, so that the maid thought a girl had done it, but they were on your body.
Correct. I want the illusion that something's happening. I don't want anything to ever happen. I want people to look like, oh wow, Brandon Walker, that guy.
I will say I posted a photo on Instagram the other day and I got multiple comments like, Brandon Walker's a lucky guy. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, what is that supposed to mean?
All right. So
by the way, Jack's not having any of our shenanigans tonight.
No, well, we're all a little. As we speak, it's 1:25 a.m. Hopefully this will be out. Jack will have it out, I know, by morning. But I just want to go through and I'm going to go through the scoreboard, and anything we might have missed, I'm just going to bring it up, and we're going to do like a rapid fire take real quick. But it won't take more than 5 minutes, okay?
Okay.
Michigan State 31, Rutgers 13. They keep rolling. Michigan State keeps rolling. A lot of people bet against them, but you know, they go on the road, beat Rutgers by 18 points. They're right there where they need to be. Whether they're for real or not, it doesn't really matter, does it?
They're undefeated.
Tennessee 45, South Carolina 20. Again, Tennessee can score a lot of points. And if you're ranking first-year coaches, did we say this on the show or did we say this off the show, Jack? I can't remember.
I said it earlier.
If you're ranking first-year coaches, you got to be happy with what Josh Heupel's doing. They're like interesting all of a sudden. And Hendon Hooker's a good quarterback.
What a weird name now.
Talk about a guy that really was not good at his job, Jeremy Pruitt. That defense was supposed to be, I mean, he was defensive coordinator at Bama. The defense at Tennessee has improved this year. And you would think that their defense would take a step back due to how their offense operates, because they're so fast and it's kind of a, you know, high risk, high reward. So there's a lot of 3 and outs, but you know, Josh Heupel and that staff has done a really good job.
Wake Forest continues to be undefeated, 40-37. They went on the road. They've kind of survived by the skin of their teeth the last couple of weeks. They barely survived last week, barely survived this week, but that doesn't matter. You just keep surviving and go forward. Again, Florida State beats North Carolina by 10. Shocking to me, just shocking that North Carolina is losing to Florida State that many years in a row. SMU 31-24. SMU quietly pretty good this year. Oregon State gets beat. Just going. TCU destroys Texas Tech, by the way, 52-31.
By the way, I'm looking at the standings right now for the Pac-12 on TV. Arizona State is leading the South Division.
Yeah.
Like they're quietly. I mean, I know they've lost a game, but they're quietly still.
Yeah. No, they're not bad. They're not bad. They handled Stanford last night. So yeah, there's college football in a nutshell for week whatever.
Week 6, Brandon.
Let me just very quickly, week 7.
We're going to be in Tennessee. I know we've already said it, but I want to reiterate, we're going to sailgate, hopefully.
Yeah, I want to eat a burger at the Block and Barrel. That's really my only thing.
Oh my God, I love Knoxville. By the way, UCLA just scored again, so we're good.
Yay. Okay, so next week we're going to have, let's see, Oklahoma State, Texas, which is, Texas can bounce back. UCF, Cincinnati, I think that's lost a lot of juice with UCF losing their quarterback and then losing.
UCF almost lost to ECU today.
Yeah.
Yeah. Auburn, Arkansas is next week. That's another series that's a little wild. Last year had the crazy ending where Arkansas actually beat them, but the refs gave the win to Auburn. Florida, LSU, Kentucky, Georgia in the SEC. Alabama, Mississippi State, of course. So I get to go through the hell of playing Alabama, but worked out good for you, huh?
Sure did.
Again, how is Alabama going to bounce back from this 2-game losing streak?
I don't know. All I know is that apparently Northgate is popping right now. So
Ole Miss, Tennessee, NC State, Boston College, which is a sneaky.
That is a sneaky good game.
I mean, that could decide a lot in the ACC. NC State at Boston College. That's TCU, Oklahoma, Arizona State, Utah. So another good week next week. So, all right, let's do Kayce. Who won the week?
Texas A&M.
You can have it.
I know that in reality, because they do have 2 losses, and I get that, and going into the SEC West race, it's not propelling them to the SEC championship. But I do think, as somebody who went there and who's been very tough on the team, who's buried them, the fact that they were able to respond with a backup quarterback, with not having Haynes King, and beat the number 1 team in the country as an unranked team, I do think that Jimbo Fisher, maybe that should be my answer. Maybe it's Jimbo, because for the last couple of weeks, it's been like, is Jimbo Kevin Sumlin? Is Jimbo Jim Harbaugh? Like, everything has been about, like, he's not that good. He doesn't deserve $90 million. He just went out and beat Nick Saban, and only one assistant has ever done that, and that's Jimbo Fisher. So I'm going to say Jimbo Fisher and Texas A&M, even though in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't do a lot. It is a stepping stone for this program.
All right. To me, the winner of the week was clear. And shout out to A&M for doing what they did. It's awesome. It's fantastic. But there was one program that came into this week knowing this was kind of a showdown of sorts. This was a watershed moment, a crossroads. If you're coming in, if you're hosting Penn State and you lose, is it ever going to happen for you? You get to this moment, they say the cream rises to the top. And whenever you have a chance to go this way, are you cream or not? And Iowa had a chance. This was a program defining moment. Are you going to be the same team that goes 9-3 every year? Or are you going to take that step? And are you going to rush the field? Are you going to win the biggest game of the weekend? Are you going to put yourself in position to go undefeated? And Iowa answered all those to the affirmative today. And I know what happened. I know Sean Clifford got hurt. I know they probably weren't going to win if he didn't get hurt, but he did get hurt. And it did happen. And they did what they had to do. Iowa, it was the biggest game of the week. It was the highest rated game of the week, number 3 against number 4. And Iowa won it. Therefore, they win the weekend. Jack.
Caleb Williams. You came
Love that.
In the biggest game of your life and didn't really even flinch. Some even the throws that weren't completed seemed like they were right on the money. There was a few in the back of the end zone and stuff. And really, I mean, Oklahoma just finding a way to win that game. It's crazy that they won it. We didn't really talk about the one game that we did not talk about that I'm thinking of that a team pulled a win out of their ass was Brandon. We talked about it before we started to record. Notre Dame finding a way to beat Virginia Tech that goes back to the ACC thing, but winner of the weekend, Caleb Williams.
Just to piggyback off Caleb Williams to help your point a little bit, not even help your point, but I think maybe a winner there is like Oklahoma fans. Oklahoma fans knew that it didn't feel right. They knew Spencer Rattler. Nothing felt right about this. Nothing felt like they were winning, but they weren't happy with the way they were winning. And something needed to happen. Something needed to congeal that whole thing. Something needed to snap into place. And the second Spencer Rattler got benched and Caleb Williams brings that team back.
And the fact that Riley kept Spencer Rattler out because he could have easily made the decision like he did last year to bring him in, like I said earlier, into the second half, and he didn't.
No, the way it happened today, there's no controversy. That's as clean a break as you're going to get. Caleb Williams comes in, wins the biggest game of the season. He's the guy from now on, period.
For sure. No doubt.
All right, Kayce Smith, who lost the week?
Well, I mean, the obvious answer is Alabama, and that's not just because I'm an Aggie. They were the number one team in the country. They had everything going for them, and now we're going to see what happens. But if we're going to take that off the table, because that would be a chalk pick for me, I honestly do think it's Texas. And I know that as soon as I say that, it's going to be like, well, you're an Aggie. The way that, and I said this earlier when we talked about this game, the way that Texas looked early in the Red River Shootout, they looked unbelievable. Casey Thompson looked great. The defense looked great. Sark looked like he had it all figured out. And the fact that they couldn't just finish that game when they had everything going their way makes me feel like they were the loser of the week, because it was the first game that everyone was paying attention to. It was one of the biggest rivalry games we have in college football that's early in the season, and they couldn't finish it. They could not put Oklahoma away, and Oklahoma's been struggling, like we just mentioned. They had to put in a backup quarterback. So I'm going to say Texas is the biggest loser, knowing that Alabama actually is because they were number one in the country, but both of those teams not being able to finish what they started, losers.
All right, well, I'm going to go down a little bit, but I think North Carolina lost the weekend. Listen, their season was already kind of, as far as their biggest dreams and expectations and goals was done. But there's just an embarrassment to losing to a team that was pretty much down and out. I mean, Florida State was as done gets. Losing to Jacksonville State, just losing, starting 0-4. And North Carolina, who came in with such high hopes, I could rationalize them losing to Virginia Tech. I could rationalize who they lose to the second game, and why do I keep forgetting it?
Who, North Carolina?
Yeah. They've lost. Today's their third loss. Who was their second loss?
Virginia Tech, Florida State, and
shit. This is embarrassing.
This is embarrassing. Why are we doing this?
I got to look it up now.
Georgia Tech.
Thank you very much, Georgia Tech.
Georgia Tech.
They lost to Georgia. Like, I can rationalize them losing to Georgia Tech, although it didn't look pretty. I can rationalize them losing to Virginia Tech, but I can't rationalize losing to Florida State. Not this Florida State team.
I mean,
like,
barf.
It's to the point where you got to say, I mean, Mac Brown, we gave you credit for what you're building, but are you really building anything?
No slander for Mac Brown.
I'm sorry. He deserves it at this point. You never beat Florida State ever. You lose to this team. No. That's slander that is well earned by Mac Brown.
I know.
Period.
I love him.
All right, Jack, who lost the week?
It's UConn.
Jack, come on.
That's fair. He's allowed to say that.
Worst team in the FBS.
No, Arizona is.
No, you stop with that take. UConn's definitely worse.
And then, loser of the week.
Yep. All right. I don't know if you're in too good of a mood, but Kayce, start the shit list off.
No, I'm not starting. I'm finishing.
Oh, you're finishing. Jack, you want to start it off or you want me to start it off? I'm ready if you want me to start it off.
You can go. Yeah.
Shit list time. and this is usually my favorite shit list of the year, and we didn't get to do it last year. But anytime Nicky Saban and Alabama lose their first regular season game, it gets me to thinking about the Dylans of the world. It gets me to thinking about those guys that work at O'Reilly Auto Parts. It gets me to thinking about the Alabama fans who don't know where Tuscaloosa is, have never been there, have no idea what it feels like inside Bryant-Denny Stadium. It gets me to thinking about the Alabama fans who buy all their gear at Walmart, the guys who live in fucking Kentucky, or they live in suburban Atlanta, or they live in Mississippi, or they live in Tennessee, they live in Memphis, wherever they live. They don't live in Alabama. They just like them because they're on TV all the time and they win. And it gives them the feeling that, I'm a winner because I have houndstooth hat. I love Alabama. All right, really? Well, when did you graduate? I have no idea how you graduate from Alabama. Whatever. This is the worst. The real Alabama fans that went to Alabama are great people, great fans. But these sidewalk Alabama fans are the worst fans in college football. And anytime those toothless pieces of shit get to suffer and get to lose and get to start thinking about Duke basketball and Kentucky basketball, whoever the fuck they're fans of is great. Fuck you, Dylan. Fuck you. That's my shit list.
Also, can I please add on to that really quick?
Please.
You know who else's name is Dylan?
Oh, the guy that fucked up our airplane.
The guy that fucks up our planes every single week. The Spider has Jack. Just so you know, Spider is going like, what would be the like? What's the
He's
movie?
right here. He's right here.
Spider, bring him in.
We can't do all this, guy. It's 2:00 in the fucking morning.
Where's Spider?
He's right here.
Spider.
He's not here anymore. He just left.
Oh, never mind. Okay. Well, Spider is on the list. Law-abiding citizen, Dylan. Go ahead, Jack. It's your turn.
Oh my God. The shit list for me is anybody that said for at least last year, the same team always wins in college football, blah, 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 blah.
Good one.
There's no parity. Everyone is it's always the same teams. Why does it even matter? They're wrong. It's the bad take. This year proved it. And Brandon said it earlier, that as Spider slowly comes in behind me.
Spidey,
said it,
my king.
This sport shows us time and time again that it's a great, great sport with great, great games. And I had a lot of fun today. So anybody that disrespects the sport is on my shit list. And so that's my shit list for today.
Good one.
All right, Kayce.
Brandon, do you know where I'm going with this?
I don't.
You don't? I was texting you about it.
Oh, wow.
I am going to put my coworkers on the shit list today.
Why don't you be specific?
I'm going to put Dave Portnoy and Daniel Big Cats on my shit list. Because Jack, you weren't on the plane today, so you didn't get to see what happened. Now, we had all of our issues with the plane. It was a disaster. We did not have functioning Wi-Fi, not to the cruise problem, because they didn't know that they were going to be shipping another group of people out. Nobody had Wi-Fi on the plane on the way to Blacksburg. We're watching the Red River Shootout, and it is the shootout. Fuck everybody who says it's not. We're watching it, and everybody's on a different side of it. My lock on the Sportsbook app, the Kayce Locksmith pick, which I didn't name, Westy did, was OU to win and OU Texas over, which I think it was like 63 or some bullshit. When we're landing, Brandon gets a notification that says OU won by 7. So per usual, I announced to the plane, oh my God, OU won by 7. I don't like that either one of you aren't listening to me, by the way. You're both on my shit list for that.
I've already lived through it.
Jack, let me tell you something. I just said OU wins by 7 from the back of the plane. For literally the entire day, all I heard was how fucking absurd it was that I said that OU won by 7. They made fun of my accent. They made fun of, like, Michelangelo was saying that Dave kept saying, like, OU by 7, OU by 7. I was like, what? Am I not a fucking gambler? Like, I can't be happy about this. And then for the rest of the night, it was like, well, I can't even talk about gambling anymore. and they all made fun of me on the show about A&M. All of them were like, well, why do you even give a fuck? Like, don't even gamble about it. So my shit list is my coworkers for making me feel fucking stupid for winning bets. And I will not forget it. And apparently I have a really bad accent. Who knew? When Stool Scenes comes out, we'll see. Apparently my accent's horrible.
I don't think they made fun of you that bad. It was just a little ball busting.
I don't think so. Michelangelo said it's going to be all in Stool Scenes. So.
Okay, well, we'll see.
But listen, even if it wasn't that bad, it's still the fact of like, I was the only one who just said an update and I got fucking roasted for it. Sorry, my bet won.
That's what happened to Katie a couple weeks ago too.
Well, but I actually had like a bet on our app that people parlayed and it won. And I was.
Not only did you win that, you won the night when Texas A&M beat Alabama 41-38.
All of my friends are so shit-faced at Northgate right now. It's amazing.
All right. That is week whatever in college football. We'll be back with our preview 6, I believe. Week 6.
5 is the NFL tomorrow. You're right.
Correct. All right. That was Unnecessary Roughness.